Hello everyone, how are you today? This is Marc. While I was living in Toronto in 1995, I studied languages at U of T, University of Toronto. In 1997, when I arrived in Rome for the second time, I worked as an architect. My first visit to Rome was in 1995. During that summer, I had visited Italy for a month, and I had spent a week in Rome. Now I live in Italy. I have been living in Rome since 1997. In this lesson, we're going to look at the past, so stay tuned. Many students have asked me to talk about the past. Let me tell you though that I have talked about the past and the past simple, the past continuous, the past perfect, etc. in different occasions. In this lesson, we're going to talk about them all together so you can get a better understanding. So let's just take a look at the first example, which is the difference between the past continuous and the past simple. Let me tell you that these two tenses usually go together. Okay, so I drew a timeline and you can see we have a vertical line that represents now. Then we have a horizontal line that represents the past. Obviously the past is bigger because I want to talk about the past. And then the future, as you can see. While I was living in Toronto, and you can see the past continuous right here. So I drew two stars with an arrow to represent the past continuous. While I was living in Toronto, so an action in progress in the past, something else happened. Past simple. I studied languages at U of T, University of Toronto. So while I was living in Toronto, past continuous, a progressive action in the past. Past simple, an action, specific action, finished action in the past. I studied languages at U of T. Okay, so this is the first example. Let's take a look at the other examples. So in our second example, I used the past simple to describe an action that happened and is finished in the past. Like in my example. In 1997, so in 1997, a past action and is finished. When I arrived in Rome, for the second time, I worked as an architect. So two actions that happened in 1997, finished actions. So let's look at the third example then. I used the past simple and the past perfect. I started by saying that my first visit to Rome was in 1995. Okay, here we describe an action in the past. And I use the past simple of the verb to be. I want to remind you that the verb to be is used always for the past simple. That means that you don't need an auxiliary. In this case, the auxiliary of the past simple is always the verb to be. So what do I mean by that? If you want to ask a question, okay, you need the auxiliary to be in the past, which is was or were. Okay, so I could say, was your first visit to Rome in 1995? Okay, or if I want to say a negative sentence, I would say my first visit to Rome wasn't in 1995. Okay, so it's always the verb to be. The verb to be is very special in English, so you don't need another auxiliary. Okay, like in other examples I gave you. The third example was, during that summer, I had visited Italy for a month and I had spent a week in Rome. In this case, I wanted to make a comparison between 1997 and 1995. If I want to talk about a past action that happened before another past action, I use the past perfect. For our final example, I said, I have been living in Rome since 1997. In this case, I used the present perfect continuous. Remember that the present perfect is a past and a present. Like in my example, obviously. So, something that started in 1997 and continues up to now. Like in my timeline, okay? So you can see the cross now and the cross in 1997. I have been living in Rome since 1997. I could have said, I have lived in Rome since 1997. It's almost the same. The continuous part, so I have been living, gives a more continuity to the sentence, okay? We usually use the present perfect continuous with live, work, study, things you do continuously. So, just to recap, it's an action that happened or started sometime in the past, which is not that important, and continues up to now. So that's why present perfect, okay? It's a past and is also a present. Now, let's recap. So in this lesson we looked at the past tenses. I started by talking about the past continuous, which is a tense to describe an action that happened continuously in the past. Then I went on with the past simple, which is an action that happened in the past, obviously, and is finished. Then I went on with the past perfect, which is an action that happened before another action in the past. And I talked about the past of the verb to be, just to remind you that we do not need an auxiliary when you want to make a question or a negative sentence. We use always the verb to be in the past, so was or were. And then I talked about the present perfect, in this case the present perfect continuous, which is an action that happened sometime in the past, but continues up to now. Like I said, I have been living in Rome for 19 years, or since 1997. So I hope you enjoyed the lesson. If you have any comments, requests, or you want to post your own example, you may do so under this video. Have a great day, and I see you on the last lesson. Take care. Bye-bye.